Exciting couple of days for Yankee fans.
Bro, past 24 hours, like what happened? All of a sudden, Cashman became like a great GM again.
What was funny is that Manfred basically told all these teams to expect a full 162 game season.
Yeah.
Not going to be delayed. And everybody's like, well, I guess we better start doing something.
Yeah. No, I mean, it makes sense for them, though, because like they didn't want to lose out on more money. But once they got the confirmation that it was going to be 162, I guess that's like, all right, I guess we can spend now.
Yeah. All right. So in this episode number 2, we got a couple of topics here. First one I want to talk about, what was your reaction when you heard it was 6 years for DJ LeMahieu?
Honestly, if the money would have been more, I would have been opposed to it. But there's no way anybody could get mad at 6 years, 90 million. I mean, we're talking, what is that, 15 million a year? Yep. I mean, 15 million a year for one of the best hitters in baseball. That's better than anyone could have ever expected. I mean, when I was looking at like a potential DJ contract, I was definitely looking between 20 to 25 million a year. I don't know about you, but 15 million a year, I don't think the Yankees really care what happens in that in the last 2 years of that contract.
Yeah, I think everybody was kind of expecting at the beginning of the offseason, 5 years, 100 million would be basically what he's asking.
Yeah.
And then the reports were that the Yankees wouldn't go above 4 years. So I was sitting there waiting for them to say, all right, 4 years, 75 million with a 5th year option based on performance or something like that. But when it came out 6 years for 90, it just hit me how clever of a move that was. And when I did my reaction video, that was the first thing I said, clever move, because that was a way for the Yankees to give DJ, what he deserves, give him the full amount that he's earned, basically, but also create some room under the luxury tax threshold so you could go out and get pitching. We saw them go get Kluber. We'll talk more about that. And then we've also got rumors, and I don't know how credible these are, that they're talking about Castillo, but I don't know what the Reds' incentive would be to trade him. But yeah, I mean, it's obviously good for the Yanks that LeMahieu's back in the fold. I don't think the last 2 years of that contract are going to be a huge issue, because for 15 million, if you just look at inflation, the way salaries have gone up, that's not going to be a big burden by that point. That would be a guy that, plays 100 games, can move around like a good utility. If he turns into Ben Zobrist the last couple of years, I think that's a decent trade-off, because he's going to be an all-star the next 2 or 3 years at least.
Yeah, no, I mean, DJ's the type of guy where expecting him once he turns the age 37, 38, I don't think he's gonna fall off the map completely. I mean, look at Nelson Cruz. The dude's 40 and he's still hitting like an absolute monster. So if DJ could still perform at a decent level, and then once this contract ends, it's possible the Yankees could still hit him up on 1 year deals and still have him be on the roster if he is like that Ben Zobrist type of player that we're anticipating him to be later on in his career. But listen, I think this is a great contract for both sides. DJ got the longevity and he got paid at the same time, and the Yankees got low AAV and they got DJ locked up for the future, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, win-win, great move by Cashman. Other big news was Corey Kluber. What was your reaction when you heard that Kluber got done?
I mean, listen, I've been calling for Kluber all offseason, but it was always one of those things where I didn't know how realistic it was, right? So obviously we all have these players that were like, oh, Yankees, go sign them, but we don't know if they're actually going to go do it. After the showcase, when we heard the Yankees were one of the top teams on him, I kind of got more excited about it. But then last night, all of a sudden, Corey Kluber, 1 year deal with the Yankees, $11 million. I think that this is a perfect fit. This is one of those things where it's low risk, high reward, right? If Corey Kluber can stay healthy, we don't even need him to be 2016, 2017 Corey Kluber. We just need him to be a consistent, durable pitcher for this team going into the season, to be a solid 2 behind Cole, maybe even 3 behind Cole if they get a guy like Castillo or Hendricks like we discussed before. But listen, I really do think that Corey Kluber is going to make an impact on this team. He's a veteran arm who I trust in game 2 of a division series, not like J-Hap.
Right. Yeah. If Kluber's healthy, he's getting the number 2 start in the series, unless Severino comes back and is absolutely dominating. But either way, you gotta like having a guy like Kluber on the roster, even if he's not, like you said, 100%. He's experienced. He's a veteran. The fact that he's 35 and had injuries over the last couple of years is a little bit concerning to me. But I don't think that the Yankees are paying for a guy who's going to go out and be that 2017 guy. They're paying for a guy who maybe needs a day off here and there. And they have some younger guys. They have the Hermans they can call up. They can give Loizaga a start here and there. You can go with, Clark Schmidt or, Davy Garcia. I don't know what the rotation is going to pan out to be, but presumably there'll be a couple of extra starters left over. So if you need to give Kluber some days off where you wouldn't have had that luxury in Texas or Cleveland just to keep him healthy, that's something the Yankees are going to be able to do. And I really think that if he can stay healthy all year, this is going to be a steal. One other point is that he just worked out a couple of days ago. And this got done really quick, which tells me, and it got done for more money than we were expecting. People were saying he wants 1 year, 6 to 8 million. He got 11 million. That's almost twice what they were initially saying. When he threw, you have to wonder if they had, the StatCast stuff hooked up. I don't know where he threw. Presumably, they had all of those high-speed cameras watching him to see what his spin rate's looking like, to see how the ball's coming out of his hand. And the scouts go back and they look at that and they say, you know what, Brian, this guy looks good right now. I jump on this. And so the reason he got 11 million is probably because every team in the league said, here's 8 million, here's 9 million, whatever you're asking for. So the Yankees had to go to 11 million to get it done. And the fact that it got done so quickly and for 1 year tells me that he wants to prove himself, that he's confident in himself. And the addition that he's working with Cressy Sports, which is owned by Eric Cressy, who's the Yankees strength and conditioning director. That tells me that the Yankees have inside knowledge on what he's been doing, on how he's feeling. Presumably this was not his first workout of the year. He's probably been throwing these bullpens at Cressy Sports, and the Yankees have basically inside knowledge. And so they said, you know what, we're going to get this guy. This is one of those moves. It's not Freddie Garcia. It's not Bartolo Colon, those guys that the Yankees brought back late in their career to fill a 4th or 5th spot. This is a guy who I feel like could be a number 2 this year.
I agree 1,000%. Like we've said, I'll take 75% of Corey Kluber over 100% of a guy like Domingo Germán, to be honest. 100% of Domingo Germán. I'll take 75% of Corey Kluber any day over Germán.
So the other one that's been getting the rounds, and it's partially my fault because I did a video about it, but Luis Castillo, Reds basically ace now that Bauer is gone. 6'2", 200, 99 mile an hour fastball with disgusting movement. Best changeup in baseball, in my opinion. Great command and keeps the ball in the ballpark better than pretty much anybody. He's the guy that you want. Like, if he's available, you have to go get him. So a little exercise that I asked you to do and that I did myself was to put together what we think would be a fair trade package for Castillo. Now, to anybody who's watching, I always get crap. We got so much crap when we did that trade episode, people calling us out. Like, trades are subjective, right? In any trade, especially a good trade, there's going to be a feeling on both sides that it stung a little bit. So some people are going to think our offers are an overpay, and some people are going to think they're an underpay. Yeah. So first, let's go ahead and get your package. What are you proposing for Castillo? And then I'll give you what I'm proposing.
Yeah, so I mean, this one's going to be tough because I love Clint. But I think I'm going to use him in the centerpiece deal for Luis Castillo. I think we're going to do Clint, Devi, and I would say like a minor league infielder like Anthony Volpe. I think he would be the third piece of the deal. I don't even know if those three guys would get the job done because I'm sure the Reds' asking price is going to be astronomical. But I think if you start off the deal with Clint and then include Devi, because you're assuming that Luis Castillo is going to replace Devi's spot in the rotation, especially in the future, so you don't really have to worry about him anymore. And then if you attach a guy like Volpe, because I know the Reds are looking for infield help, I believe. So if you add that for their future infield, I think they might accept that.
That's not bad. That's not bad. I know that Anthony Volpe's father watches and comments all the time. So a shout out to him. I hope I might have to edit that part, and I'll leave it in. So I don't think that's an overpay. It might be a bit of an underpay just because of what Castillo is. He's basically, in my opinion, he's the next guy who's going to have that breakout 1.87 ERA type of season over the next couple of years. If you look at his numbers in Cincinnati, he's thrown progressively more innings each year. He's had progressively more strikeouts each year. Last year, obviously, it helped because the pandemic shortened his workload. So he only threw, I think, 70 innings and he had 89 strikeouts. That's, I think, 11.4 strikeouts per inning. So to me, he's a legitimate second ace. And so I may have overpaid a little bit. And I think maybe you came in under a little bit. So it'll probably be somewhere in between. But I also use Deivi Garcia. My trade package is actually as follows. I would go to the Reds and say, choose one of the following three pitchers: Deivi Garcia, Clark Schmidt, or Domingo Germán. If you want Deivi Garcia or Clark Schmidt, you're basically getting one of the Yankees' top three prospects from last year, both guys who made their major league debut, both guys who have a bright future. If you go with Domingo Germán, obviously he's got a little bit more baggage, but he's already won 18 games in the big leagues in the American League East. He'll probably be a really good pitcher in the National League. So choose one of those three. Then I'm giving them Miguel Andujar. He can play either third base or first base. I know his defense is not great, but maybe if you take a little pressure off of him by sticking him in a place where the media isn't constantly hounding him about it, that might be a chance for him to improve. I think his future might be more at first base. And as we talked about on the last podcast, the Yankees have first baseman in waiting. So Miguel Andujar becomes expendable. And let's face it, the Reds have not been a good offensive team the last couple of years. So he would be a guy who could provide, if he jumps back to, what we know he can do, an 850 OPS in the National League. That's basically a Bryce Harper type of bat from one of the corner infield spots. So now you've got a young pitcher replacing the pitcher you just traded, 3 or 4 years younger either way. And then you've got a corner infield bat who could be an all-star caliber hitter, probably won't be an all-star caliber fielder. And then I'm giving them two sweeteners. I'm giving them Albert Abreu, who's a major league ready arm with several years of cheap control and a 97-mile-an-hour fastball. I know that the Yankees like Abreu and they need bullpen arms, but as I said before, if you make a trade for a big-time player, usually it has to sting and you have to give up a little bit, like a piece that you might need. And to me, Albert Abreu is a major league ready relief pitcher that you could toss in that deal. And I'm giving them $2 million in international bonus pool money for next season. So that way they can go out and get a prospect of their choosing. How do you feel about that?
I think that that's an awesome deal. I think you could know about me based on our past discussions. I'm the complete opposite of a prospect hugger, right? I'm completely open to trading any of these prospects for proven major league talent. I don't see the point in holding on to them and hoping they turn into the guy you want to trade for. So listen, I'm not going to hold on to Albert Abreu, hoping that he does turn into a Luis Castillo. So I think involving him in that deal is perfect. I think out of Deivi, Schmidt, and Germán, I think the Reds are going to find Schmidt most attractive, so he'd probably be in that deal. And then Andujar, sure. But I think instead of Andujar, they might be looking for Clint, only because he's more of a proven MLB bat. Andujar I kind of put him in like the Germán category because you don't really know what you're going to get out of him. It could be really good production or it could be really bad. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, like what we have to look at is, regardless, this is going to be a huge package if the Yankees do want to get Castillo. And we always find it that they like their prospects, right? Especially that the farm system isn't at the same level it used to be now. They might not want to gut it for a guy like Luis Castillo. So I don't know. I think I'd make both of our deals, but it depends what Cashman wants to do.
I'm going to disagree with you on that last point. I think Luis Castillo is the guy worth gutting it for because he gives you that, if imagine the rotation going into any playoff series, now, especially now that Snell is out of the American League. Imagine you're facing the White Sox, or imagine you're facing possibly the A's next season. Those are, to me, going to be two contenders. The Twins are going to be good. The Blue Jays are going to be really good. Imagine you're facing those guys, but your rotation is Cole, Castillo, a healthy Kluber, and Luis Severino. That is disgusting. And to me, that's worth losing out on a couple of prospects. I might even give them another prospect. I might even give them, an Anthony Siegler or a Luis Medina. If they need another prospect to get it done. Look, the Yankees, they have Dominguez coming up. They have some other big prospects still in the system that they're not going to deal. I don't think they'll deal Medina, but he's a guy that you could move. But the Yankees seem to find prospects. They're really good at international scouting. And I just feel like now's a chance, if there's any chance at all, that the Reds would move Castillo, the Yankees have to be on the forefront of that discussion and making it happen.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, two more quick points I want to make about Castillo. One, since we're on like the Luis Castillo conversation here, there is one other guy that I would kind of prefer over Luis Castillo, and that's Kyle Hendricks. I think he would be an awesome fit in the Bronx over Castillo, and I'd probably give your package, my package, and then some to get him. Also, I think it would be much cheaper to get Hendricks than Castillo.
Well, Hendricks makes more money, I think. So
yeah, that
you don't have to pay as much if you're taking on more salary.
Yeah. But two, I don't know if this is like an out there idea, but I kind of view Luis Castillo as everything we expected Luis Severino to be. With injuries aside, Luis Castillo, he kind of turned it into what in 2017, what we thought we were going to be getting out of Luis Severino for the next couple of years. So if you could pair him in that rotation with Sevy, with Kluber, that's just a beautiful sight, honestly.
I still don't know what Luis Severino is ultimately going to be for the Yankees. He was really good his first couple of years. He's still 25 years old. I think he's going to be 26 this year, but he's 2 years younger than Castillo. He might very well turn into Justin Verlander. He's one of those guys who, in the past, he's held the fastball at 100 miles an hour into the seventh inning. His problem has always been that he nibbles despite having dominant strikeout stuff. So he'll go 3-2 on everybody, and then he's out of the game by the fifth inning. Once he gets a little older and a little bit less obsessed with striking guys out and a little bit okay with just breaking a bat here and there, I think Severino still has a bright future. I think he still could be Justin Verlander if he comes back healthy from surgery. To me, he was that type of pitcher. He was on the precipice of being that type of pitcher.
Yeah, I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Last topic here. We wanted to talk about whether or not Brian Cashman is a good GM, because this is a debate I always see in the comments. Some people love Cashman. You see Cash God. And then some people are like, oh, dumb, stupid idiot Cashman. Go climb a building, But to me, he's so like, he's polarizing because he's made some really great deals. You look at Luke Voigt for Chase and Shreve. You look at Aaron Hicks for J.R. Murphy. The whole Chapman for Glaber and then re-signing Chapman thing. But then you've also got signing Jacoby Ellsbury as a reaction to losing Robinson Cano. You've got signing Carl Pavano and Jarrett Wright in the same offseason. You've got trading for Javier Vasquez twice. You've got signing Kei Igawa as a response to Daisuke Matsuzaka. Excuse me. You've got trading Mike Lowell when he was still a prospect, the Yankees' #1 prospect, to the Marlins for Ed Yarnall. Ed Yarnall, who pitched maybe 2 games ever with the Yankees for a World Series MVP. Austin Jackson and Ian Kennedy on the move to get Curtis Granderson. Jackson becomes a stud right away. Kennedy wins 20 games, but Granderson did have back-to-back 40 home run seasons.
I still like that deal, yeah.
I like that deal. I that's why I think it's just, I personally, I think Cashman is one of the best GMs in baseball, but I do find it kind of irritating that he's got one championship since 2000.
Yeah. Listen, I'll kind of give my take on it, I guess. Listen, you ask people, is Brian Cashman a good GM? It depends on what day you ask them, right? So if you asked them yesterday, they would have been like, hell yeah, he's a great GM. DJ, Corey Kluber, of course. But then you ask him the day before when the Phillies signed Archie Bradley and Yankee fans were pissed, they'd be like, no, he's the worst GM in history. He hasn't done anything all offseason. So it really depends on the day. But I know we talked about like a lot of the bad trades, a lot of the bad acquisitions. But I think over the past few years, Cashman has become much more methodical in his moves. Like we mentioned, he's much more low-key, and there's a lot of work that goes into these acquisitions. Like we said, Luke Voigt for Chase and Shreve. What a deal. I mean, come on. The Gio Urshela acquisition, another amazing deal. But then you also have some weird ones wrapped in there, like Sonny Gray. I don't think anybody really expected him to be that bad in New York. But also the DJ acquisition when it first happened. Beautiful stuff.
That's a great point. That's a great point. DJ, everybody gave Cashman crap because if you remember that winter, I think that was the Bryce Harper,
it was
Manny Machado, all these guys were free agents, and everybody's saying, oh, Yankees are going to get these big free agents. And then you see that they signed DJ LeMahieu for 2 years, $24 million, and everybody mailed it in and said, what is he doing? Who is this DJ LeMahieu? And then he goes out and becomes your best player. Here's what I think about Cashman. I think that Cashman has got 4 rings, and to him, he's not trying to prove himself that he can win a championship. He's trying to build his own dynasty, which means he needs to make clever moves. He's still kind of in the shadow of Stick Michael, who was the GM who really, during the time that George Steinbrenner was suspended from baseball, Stick Michael really built that team with the Bernie Williams and the Paul O'Neills and the Derek Jeters and the Mariano Riveras. He put that squad together. Brian Cashman came in 1998, and in his first season as the GM, they go 125-50. His first move was Chuck Knobloch. So, and I think it was trading Eric Milton for Chuck Knobloch, and Eric Milton was the Yankees' top prospect at that point. Great deal at the time. So Cashman right away had success. You win 3 in a row. What's left? You want to build your own dynasty. And for the first half of the 2000s, he still had George, and George was into the sign the Giambis, which was a good move, by the way, but sign the A-Rods, get everybody, get Raul Mondesi, get people you don't need, get Jose Canseco, and I think that Cashman kind of got caught up in the whole second Tampa faction of Yankees baseball. But since about 2007, Cashman's been at the helm. 2009, they win a World Series. 2010, they go to the ALCS. They lose with Josh Hamilton really wrecking shop. Can't really blame him there. Then they have a little bit of a lull. But this 2017 to whenever it ends was supposed to be his dynasty. And so far, they're 0-3.
Yeah.
So I feel like Cashman, his legacy is resting on what happens over the next couple of years. If you win a couple of championships with the Judge and the Sanchez and the Gleyber Torres crew, Aaron Hicks, who you traded for in center field, if you can build another dynasty, another repeat champion on your own, then that's proof that you have climbed that. And if he does that, I think he'll resign. I think he'll call it a career, and I think he'll turn it over to, maybe me. I don't know.
Imagine. No, I agree 1,000%. I think at the end of the day, like, we can knock on Cashman all he wants for his bad deals. No GM is going to have every deal turn out great in their favor, right?
Right.
So I still think at the end of the day, Brian Cashman is a very good general manager. He's made, I don't know what other general manager out there knew that Luke Voigt was going to turn into like an MVP candidate? No one.
Right.
So look, and also a lot of it goes into the Yankees scouting department, analytic team, because Cashman isn't just the only one who notices talent in these players. But listen, I think that Cashman has made a great balance in getting those minor players, but then also making those big deals for guys like Giancarlo Stanton and Garrett Cole. So I think moving forward, what Cashman really has to do is keep focusing on improving the team, because right now I don't think that they have a constructed team that is dynasty capable. And he knows that. That's exactly why he acquired Kluber. But like we mentioned all episode, maybe a guy like Castillo, maybe a guy like Hendricks, and then some bullpen help as well. These are moves that can solidify Brian Cashman as being a great GM and having a great offseason. If you go out there and you trade for Luis Castillo, and we all know Cashman's never going to overpay. So if he could negotiate it down to a great deal for the Yankees, I really think he could solidify himself once again as one of the best GMs in baseball, because I don't know if you remember, but that 2016 trade deadline, when he traded Miller, Chapman, Beltran, and got a king's ransom in prospects. The Yankees had like a top 3 farm system in the majors, I believe. Cashman was touted as, if not the one of the best general managers in baseball. Since then, that status has kind of fallen off a little bit. But I think a crazy offseason this year and a potential World Series victory next season solidifies Cashman as not only one of the best GMs in baseball, but maybe one of the best GMs of all time.
It's going to be a fun season. There's still work to be done, I think, if the Yankees want to win it all. Patrick, episode 2 in the books. Appreciate it so much.